Welcome to the Transformative Neurotherapy Podcast with your host, Dr. Heather Putney, founder and executive director of Transformative Neurotherapy. This is the place where healing happens faster. Because let's face it, your brain doesn't come with an owner's manual until now. Here, we take a holistic approach to brain health, bringing together science, mind-body harmony, and the tools you need to optimize your well-being. Whether you're a high performer, executive, athlete, longevity hacker, or just someone tired of your brain working against you, Dr. Putney is here to help you unlock your full potential. From brain fog to chronic stress, we're covering it all so you can finally experience brain health, mind harmony, and total well-being. Ready to get unstuck? Let's get started.
Learn how neurotherapy calms the nervous system and retrains the brain to respond to stress with clarity and control. Welcome, everyone. I'm Julie Schwenzer, co-host and producer in the studio with Dr. Heather Putney, founder and executive director of Transformative Neurotherapy. Dr. Heather, it's great to be here with you again.
Yes, it's great to be here with you.
So let's dive in. How does neurotherapy help ease anxiety?
I love part of your intro because when we're working with anxiety, this is really about balancing the sympathetic nervous system. Our last podcast, we talked a little bit about depression, and that is actually an imbalance in the nervous system where the parasympathetic nervous system is dominant, and you're kind of stuck in that kind of like slower, more depressive state. Whereas anxiety is kind of the opposite. It's the sympathetic, the fight or flight nervous system that's kind of stuck on. So in this situation, we create a lot more fast wave frequencies in our brain. We talk a lot about beta. And in our past podcasts, I've talked about how the brain has a natural symphony, how it's got a natural balance of different wavelengths. So when it's in balance and at the right time, then the brain works well. So we need to have delta. We create delta when we're sleeping. It's really slow wave. And then you've got theta. That's your kind of creative, dreamy state. Alpha is that bridge between the conscious and the subconscious. It also represents like our processing speed. It's crucial. Beta is our thinking. Okay, so like when we're focusing on something, we're creating beta. It's also, though, the same type of frequency we're creating when we've got ruminating thoughts that's kind of preventing us from falling asleep at night or excessive worry. So it's, when we've got an anxiety profile, we generally see too much thinking and not enough dreaming. And so to balance the brain, we want to be able to create more of those kind of calmer, encourage the brain to experience and create more of those calmer wavelengths.
How does the neurotherapy help reduce the overactivity in those areas? How do you calm it down?
We've got several different modalities in the way, in the treatment options that we have. One of them that works that I really love to use when I've got a profile like this is vagus nerve stimulation. I actually have one of my stimulator right here. And the vagus nerve is one of the longest nerves in the body. And one of the ways where we can activate that is actually right here on the left tragus. And so we can actually put a clip right there, and we'll send a small electrical current and stimulate the vagus nerve. And as we're stimulating the vagus nerve, it actually helps encourage the body to rebalance that parasympathetic to sympathetic balance in the body. And it also works on the whole system. So, you might see people with anxiety that struggle with irritable bowel. Lots of stomach and GI issues, with these profiles. So vagus nerve stimulation is amazing, is one of the things that we will do. And it will also, like I said, help some of the somatic or body-based symptoms you experience with anxiety. And this can help calm it down. The other thing is we can give parasympathetic frequencies through the electrical currents that we use in the brain. And so we can kind of send some of those calming, soothing frequencies right through the hot spots, wherever they happen to be. There's actually 13 in the research. There's 13 different anxiety profiles. So different ways where the brain can show up in anxious places. And some people have multiple. So it's not like, oh, there's just one. It's like, well, I've got, and usually it's a beta issue, too much too much thinking, too much fast wave in different regions of the brain. If you have it more globally, it's going to present with one thing. If you've got it over the middle, the center line, the CZ, that's going to be an insomnia marker. And there's just different ways depending on the way it shows up in the body. But it's usually this over arousal, over activated, kind of on edge kind of experience. Very, people tend to be very tense, very stressed. So it could be anxiety, or it could just be stress and chronic stress. So we'll see a lot of people come in and they will, experience great benefits, even if they're not maybe full blown anxiety, but they, that we're working with like chronic stress. You might have your executives that are just living in this stressful place. And so we're helping their brain get a little bit more of that like balancing, or, kind of help bring more nutrients to the part of the brain, help counteract the impacts of chronic stress, which can create inflammation in the brain and in the body.
And, this leads me to the next question. Is neurotherapy effective then? I guess you in part answered it. It is effective for both chronic and situational anxiety.
Yes, because you're essentially helping balance the nervous system. Anxiety is one of the ones that, depending on the profile or whatnot, but it can respond. It can be one of our faster responders for the different types of conditions that we treat. We'll come in, someone will do, a treatment and then they'll go home and they may sleep better than they've slept in a really long time. They just feel, or they'll walk out and they'll be like, I just feel more calm. I don't know, or I don't know what this feels like. I just, like when our baseline is like this buzz, right? This like kind of hum, this anxious place. And then we feel more calm. It's like, what is this? It can feel a little bit disconcerting for people where they're used to it, but it's also nice.
And do you also treat pets? I know you're an animal lover. I am too. I was curious about that. Or is that something that you're looking into?
Well, my degree is not not in veterinary medicine. So, my understanding is that, we do have some modalities with LED light therapy. We use pulsed electromagnetic field. There's things with like inflammation and things. So there are ways that you can use that where, veterinarians, I have used things for, on animals, so anxiety, like kind of the calm thing. I'm sure they could use it. Me not being a vet, I don't personally do that, but this technology can be used in a variety of contexts. We have a lot of people that, like I said, I'm a mental health therapist and that's my specialty. So I work pretty much, on the brain, but there's a lot of these things with the LED light, the pulse electromagnetic stuff that actually can be, used on the body, inflammation reduction on your knees, help bones heal from breaks and things like that. There's different frequencies, but like I said, that's outside of my personal scope of practice, but the equipment can do that with the practitioners that know what they're doing.
Well, thank you for answering that. I'm sure your dog's ears perked up. Well, going back to humans, what feedback do you hear the most often from your clients after treatment?
Yeah, I think usually, like I said, a lot of times they'll feel a little bit more calm, possibly in the session, but sometimes they don't notice something in the session. It might be the next day, and they come back in, or they send a text in like, I haven't slept this well in a long time, or I noticed that I went into this situation that normally I would have been really jittery, or it would have made me kind of really nervous, and I handled it so much better than I expected. So, so that's the type of stuff that we see early on. We also collect regular psychological measures like the GAD-7, which tracks, anxiety, general anxiety disorder, and the PHQ-9 for other mood disorders. And so we actually get baseline of what, people are experiencing, and we track the symptoms with each treatment and watch those numbers come down, and it's really fun.
Well, thank you for answering all these questions and sharing these insights into calming the anxious brain, Dr. Heather. We'll see you next time on the Transformative Neurotherapy podcast.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Transformative Neurotherapy podcast with Dr. Heather Putney. Remember, your brain isn't supposed to hold you back. It's supposed to power you forward. So stop letting it crash your party and start letting it do its job. If you're ready to optimize brain health, sharpen your focus, and age like a fine wine, Schedule your free consultation today at transformativeneurotherapy.org or call us at 412-204-7397. Because here, healing happens faster. See you next time.